going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. I'm Miko, joined by my guy Morgan Cannon here, and we are here once again to recap or break down some of the biggest storylines to come out of the Lions' Monday Night Football win against the Seattle Seahawks, where the Lions won that game 42-29. Morgan and I were actually in the building for that game. It was insane. Shout outs to you, bro, for even letting me tag along and being able to at least go to one game this season. It was absolutely an electric atmosphere for sure.
Of course, bro. You know you're welcome anytime. We'll have to line up another one. But yeah, I've been in that section a long time now with the homies. Like we got a good group going. Shout out to all the 245. And yeah, man, that was fun. I feel like I'm still a little tired from it, but I'm not.
I was gonna say, like, the plus side was that the Lions got a win. The atmosphere was electric. We got to see the black jerseys in person. Like there was a lot of dope things to like really enjoy from the game. The downside is like, bro, 30 be 30 and as cool as it is to be at a Monday Night Football game, I ain't gonna hold you. By the time it got to like the late third quarter, I was like, hey, this game needs to kind of hurry up. Like your boy getting a little sleepy.
Dude, and it took forever, bro. Like I was like, the second half took forever. I'm sure everyone sitting at home agrees, but yeah, I started yawning too, but I was just having to sip some pop, try to stay awake. But yeah, I feel you, man. And last time we said something about age, someone in the comments was like, try being 50. Hey man, like we hear you too. I feel you.
I was gonna say it's a community, right? We all have that feeling, right? Like I just remember the days where like, yo, I could hang till like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning and not be tired and still jump up and go to work. You and I were walking back to our cars like, bro, like do we take a day off tomorrow? Because
I did too. I'm weak. You went to work. Shout out to Miko. I did not. I stayed. I woke up, looked at my phone. I was like, nah.
Bro, I was going off of pure adrenaline and caffeine. But there was a lot of stuff to get into from that game, Morgan. Like we said, it was electric. The Lions really put on a show on Monday Night Football. And again, if there were doubters across America on like whether this team was legit, whether this team should be considered a Super Bowl contender, I think they definitely put the world and the league on notice that like, no, this team is for real. And we got to start first and foremost with the offense, right? Like it was not too long ago, we were, still kind of questioning like, hey, when is the offense going to wake up? When are they going to start looking like, the Ben Johnson led offense that we had become accustomed to over the last couple seasons? We saw a little bit of it last week against Arizona in the first half with them running the ball really effectively. It definitely tailored off in the second half, but this week against Seattle, it was literally from start to finish. That offense was just humming. Jared Goff goes 18 for 18, a perfect game. Really looked good in all aspects when it came down to delivering the ball. He took his shots when it was necessary. He was patient. No turnovers in this game. Like I said, 18 for 18 is just an amazing stat line. Was given player of the week honors this week. The run game was just as strong as it's been all season. It's a lot of things were going right for the offense, and it's starting to beg the question, is this the best offense in the NFL as things currently stand?
So without being too biased, I think it is. And the reason I think it is because this offense can do so many things to you from like a multitude of different formations and personnel groupings. Whereas other teams, like, yes, like, you look around, like Justin Jefferson's the best receiver in football for my money, pretty unstoppable. But outside of that, the Vikings don't really have the weapons. Like, they have some good players, but they don't have like the full complement of weapons that the Lions have. And you kind of saw, like, to your point, Mika, you saw everything on full display against the Seahawks on Monday night. Like, you had the JMO 70-yarder. You got Sam Laporta into space. He had that one screen that he made somebody miss. That was sweet. I think he had 4 catches. Obviously, you got Saint involved, threw a pass, caught the Tony toe tap. That was gorgeous. And you just kind of saw everything on full display. Monty and Gibbs were both really effective in a bunch of different ways, like between the tackles, stretch plays, getting them out on the edge, making people miss. And they just did it so effectively. Like you could see, and yes, they were missing some players on their front end. Like we've heard that from Seahawks fans since the game ended. Also, man, I'm really sick of fans like, oh, we didn't have this player. This is the NFL, man. Did y'all just start watching football? Like everyone has injuries. I'm a little bit confused
I was gonna
You
say
know what I'm saying?
we didn't have Frank Ragnow, we didn't have Brian Branch, we didn't have
All
Ifeatu
pro center.
Melifonwu.
That's what I'm saying. Like all pro
Like,
center, second best player on the defense. Like that, just stop it. If Seahawks fans are watching this or NFL fans, like injuries are going to happen. Stop that stuff, man. No one cares. You get the win. You play who's in front of you. No one cared when the Lions were super injured in 2021 with a terrible roster, and we were taking L's every week. No one gave us sympathy roses then. So yeah, I'll get off my soapbox there a little bit, but yeah, I think it was a pretty complete performance, and the Seahawks secondary is good, like certified.
yeah.
You have Reek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, like you have some certified like blue chip dudes back there, and they could not do anything. It was getting pretty rough, man, for them, and you could see the panic on the sideline a little bit when the Lions were scoring. Like, okay, 4-play drive, 1-play drive, 3-play drive. Like, it's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
no, and I'm right there with you. Like, I do think, again, trying not to be biased, like I do think, to your point, this is probably the most complete offense, and I think by default that puts them near the top. Do they have the best quarterback in the NFL? No, not necessarily, but 18 for 18 is still good, right? Like, last time I checked, like going perfect and still making good decisions. And again, there were some plays on Monday night where like Jared Goff like had us like clutching for our pearls, right? Like, there were a couple of those where, the Seattle was still getting pressure and he was still making magic happen. So like, I say that not to take anything away from him, because he's still capable of making plays outside of structure. But I've been saying this for like the last couple of years. The Lions don't need Jared Goff to be perfect. They just need him to be efficient. And that's what he was on Monday night. So you have an efficient quarterback. You have a great 1-2 punch in your backfield in Montgomery and Gibbs, who literally can, like, obviously Monty is considered the power back, but we've seen him take, 50 and 60-yard touchdown runs as well. Jameer is considered the more explosive back. You have a great array of wide receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown is your do-it-all wide receiver. J-Mo's your deep threat. You have Sam Laporta, who is literally like top three, if not top five, or top five, if not top three tight ends in the NFL. Tim Patrick really put on a show in this game. So like, you're starting to find a replacement for that Josh Reynolds role. And then the thing that really kind of keeps it all together is your offensive line that was missing your all-pro center, like you mentioned, in Frank Ragnow. So like, all of those things combined, I think, is what puts the Lions offense near the top. Yes, anytime you have an offense that has Patrick Mahomes at the helm, they're worth consideration. Anytime you have an offense, especially now that you have an offense that features Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and if Derrick Henry's going to be like putting up near 200 yards rushing on by himself, yes, they should be in the conversation. Like you said about Minnesota, you have Sam Darnold playing at a really high level. You have Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in football, and they do have a nice collection of talent. But it's the totality, and it's the depth, and it's the way that it all works together. And then on top of like the players, you put in an offensive mind like Ben Johnson, and you put in the competitive nature of a Dan Campbell, and it just kind of elevates everything to where, like, I'm not saying it's the Lions by a mile, but I think it is enough to put them on top of the NFL right now as the best offense.
yeah, and I love that you added the Ben Johnson note, because that plays a part too, man. The continuity, right? Like
Yeah.
they've all been in this system for we're going on 3 years now, like in totality, like like that, because Johnson took over technically like what, middle of 2021 with like some Dan Campbell training wheels.
Yep.
So like really you're thinking 2022, 2023, 2024. So you're going on third year of him being the like full-time play caller, and that pays dividends, man. You heard Jared Goff talk about that they've had that pass that he caught from St. Brown installed for a couple years. They've called it before, but they've checked out of it because they didn't have this look. And then they finally got the look. That's being comfortable in your system, trusting your play caller, trusting what you're seeing. And to quantify what we're talking about a little bit here. So EPA, expected points added, if you're unfamiliar, it basically quantifies the value of yards gained in terms of points scored. So it's one of those advanced metrics like DVOA, et cetera. So the Lions offensively, 5th overall in EPA per play offensively, 3rd in rushing, 6th in passing. So it's elite, even if like you're like, no, you're watching this, they're not elite. The numbers say they're elite. So It's all right there. And like, yeah, like you said, they can do it in so many different ways, man. They can bludgeon you.
Yeah.
Now they can stretch things out. Like, I guarantee you, teams are looking at that Jameson Williams touchdown and are going to be terrified to play the Lions in cover zero again, because
Well,
that's bad.
I was gonna say it's another thing that you have to contend with, because obviously when JMO's on the field, you're already worried about the end around. You're worried about any type of route, any type of 9 route, or any type of deep post, or any type of deep corner that he's going to run. Like anything that's beyond 15 yards, you're already concerned about. But Morgan, you and I have been talking about this since last season, right? Like the thing that the Lions needed to do with JMO was like, hey, get him on some of those Alabama routes where he was literally running a 5-yard drag route or something of that nature, or a 5-yard slant, and he's immediately turning that into 50, 60, 70 yards down the field. Like that's the type of talent he has. And now you're starting to see that, like you're saying, that continuity of JMO's comfortable in the system, Ben Johnson's comfortable calling the play, and Jared Goff has enough trust and confidence that JMO's going to be exactly where he needs to be for him to be able to hit him in stride and to have plays like that. And then like everything else is just like, I hate to say it's a cherry on top, but everything else has been working so well. Amon-Ra's been working and been a high profile wide receiver for the last few years that it's like you expect this out of him. Even if he's quiet for 2 or 3 quarters, like you just know, like, no, he's going to get a touchdown at some point. Like there's no reason to kind of sweat or worry about it. Like he's going to make the big time catch when it becomes necessary. So this offense, I'm right there with you. I think the only reason, like with the numbers that you gave, the only reason that they're sitting around like 5th or 6th or 4th or whatever the case may be is honestly like it was just a slow start, right? That Bucks game was not as explosive offensively as it probably could have been or should have been. The same is said for the Cardinals game that we talked about earlier. Like if the Lions had more explosive starts and they were more consistent with their offensive performance, they're easily probably like top 3 offenses in terms of rankings. But when you look at especially a game like this and you just know the history of how this offense has been playing under Ben Johnson, I think we're starting to see them finally wake up, and we're starting to see them finally hit the stride that we thought they would back in week 1. That it just took a little while.
Yeah, and it makes sense because you heard the coaches talk. Like Dan Campbell had no concern in his voice when he was like, "We know the offense is going to get right," and I'm like, "Damn, that's pretty bold to say." But at the end of the day, like the proof is in the pudding. They've put all that on tape for a while now, so I get the confidence there. But yeah, man, I do think those numbers are probably only going to go up. And if you consistently get, like, it seems like JMO's turned a corner. I don't want to jinx the young man. 1, 2, 3.
Right.
But like, shoot, like even besides the 70-yarder, right? Like the one Goff spun around in the pocket and basically had all of us like, hold our breath, and then threw that dart to JMO in like a pretty tight little window, and JMO worked back to the ball. We've seen him do that now, man. He seems like Campbell gave him the game ball because he was blocking his butt off too. He's just a player, man. And this is the vision, right? You have him with St. Brown, and there's so many ways you can stretch and like worry a defense now. And then, like you said, you have the offensive line that can still just absolutely bludgeon people. And Montgomery's running like, prime Marshawn Lynch.
I was going to say, he's about to be a prime like owner of that angry run scepter. Like at the pace that he's going, like Kyle Brandt might just have to give him one and just be like, listen, just keep that and you'll be an honorable mention every single week. We just can't keep giving this to you.
Yeah, exactly. You're too angry of a runner. But yeah, like when he planted Devin Witherspoon, I kept thinking about it. I was like, that was some Marshawn Lynch stuff, bro. Like just running with that. Ugh.
I'm going to say this now. Lions fans don't get mad at me. I would not be surprised if he gets fined for that, though. Because that helmet did get lowered.
Yeah, it did a little bit.
He did lower that helmet a little bit.
It was like one of those bang bang plays where it's like tough, but yeah. And he's such a bowling ball.
I was going to say, like, it's not Josh Jacobs level type of lowering the crown type of stuff, but like he got low on that one.
Yeah, and I bet you Devin Witherspoon's still feeling that thing, man. That looked like it hurt. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's only going to get better too. You keep operating at this clip. I think it's going to be tough to slow down. There's just so many things. Like it's almost like having so many options on a basketball team, right? Like you just have options upon like, okay, this guy's having an off day, we'll go here. Oh, he's not doing okay, we'll go here. Like, you just got options.
All right. So the next thing I did want to move on to, because again, we could probably talk about the offense all day and literally go player by player, because I think that's just how well everyone was playing on the offense. As well as the offense was playing, when you look at the stat sheet, the defense wasn't playing as nearly as well, right? Like the Lions still won 42-29. It's still a good job by the defense holding the Seattle team under 30 because of the talent that they have over there. But I mean, 500 yards of offense is 500 yards of offense, Morgan. And it's not just the 500 yards of offense that they gave up. They also committed a good amount of penalties. The Lions themselves, I'm not saying all 12 of these were on the defense. I know a good amount of these. Like I think Panay got called for a holding. Well, Panay and Decker both got called on a holding together.
That one play, yeah.
Yeah, but in totality, like the Lions got hit with 12 penalties for 101 yards. When you look at this defense, again, not trying to hit the panic button, not trying to take a negative spin on this game, because a win is a win. And again, when your offense is that emphatic, they deserve a lot of credit. But when you look at how the defense performed, which are you more concerned about? The penalties that are getting called on them, or a game like this one where they gave up a ton of yards? And for context too, the defense has been playing pretty well, right? They gave up under 300 yards against the Cardinals, under 250 against Tampa Bay, but between the Rams and Seattle, 387 yards against the Rams, 516 against Seattle. Is there any concern about the defense performing in terms of being able to contain some of these more explosive offenses?
I think the concern is there, but I'm not too worried about it. And I know people are gonna be like, "Oh my God, this homer!" But like, hear me out here. There's some context, right? So you have Seattle had 90 plays offensively, because the Lions, for as awesome as they were on offense, they were almost too efficient, right? Like those are quick drives. Like, boom, defense is back on the field. Score again, defense is back on the field. They're like, yeah, this is great to have a 14-point lead again, but we could also breathe. That would be nice as well.
Mm-hmm.
So then you had Geno threw the ball 56 times. So, and I know Carlton and Terrion, like I'm not one of those people that like sitting here saying none of those were pass interference. Some of those were pass interference. Now, some of them, because you're playing DK Metcalf, and if you don't watch Seattle a lot, or you're not familiar with Metcalf, it's probably the most physical receiver in football at the moment, with freaky deaky traits, right? Like super fast, twitchy, and then a strong as what. So Carlton Davis was actually traveling with DK Metcalf, which typically him and Terrion will just stay on sides, and kind of lock down a side for those of you that are wondering what we mean there. So I think a little bit of this is just context, right? Like some of those probably could have, gone either way. A couple of them probably could have been called on DK for OPI, and then he was complaining every time he didn't get a flag. I'm like, brother, you've already gotten like 6 tonight. Please.
Yeah.
And then to lump it in, like Kenneth Walker started going off, right? And that started happening in the second half. And in my opinion, that's when the defense started to get really tired, because they kept having to be on the field. And then Walker is just one of those S-tier athletes, like almost like akin to Jameer, but stronger, right? Like more powerfully built. So I think that was a lot of that. And then you were getting sloppy too. Like we talked about it when we were sitting there in the stadium. Like Carlton one time got too a little overzealous and got a little too far down, and the backside contain wasn't there. Tried to take an angle, and Walker just erased it, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
So I think there was some of that going on, but overall, I think the defense is going to continue to get better. And there's so many bright spots, man. I think Brian Branch, like Brandon Joseph was fine. Brian Branch probably would have helped a lot in that, in against the Seahawks, just dealing with someone like Metcalf, and you have Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, like they got some dudes over there. But then I think the one thing I'm so excited about is just the pass rush. And I know a lot of it is on 97. He's clearly making himself known. Yeah, dude. Like, and he's far and away leading the NFL in pressures. Is he still leading in sacks?
He got 6. So he was at 6.5. I think so, because I think Kyle Van Noy is still second, and I think he has 6.
So I mean,
he'll probably get passed up this week.
But other people are getting pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Levi's playing well, man. Like Aleem, Paschal had a nice game. I still need to watch the film. I've been being lazy. Today is Wednesday, but we played on Monday, so you know what I mean. But yeah, I think it's all there. I'm a little concerned, but not overly concerned, just because shoot, man, 90. That's a lot of time for people who like never really played football. Like that's a lot of snaps for a defense to be on the field against a talented offense. Like you're going to start feeling it.
Yeah, no,
Like I think
for
Hutch
sure.
has 78 snaps,
And that's a lot,
which is insane.
right?
That's insane.
And so
Yeah.
I'm right there with you in terms of like I'm less concerned about the penalties, right? And I know that seems weird to say because some of those penalties again flip the field, right? The pass interference that Carlton got on that was, at least again in a lot of our opinion, a lot of Lions fans' opinion, was not pass interference. That immediately puts them at like inside the 5, I think it was, and so like you're you're in a much more difficult situation as the defense and trying to get a stop right there. And so I think penalties will fluctuate, right? Those will fluctuate based off of the officiating crew. It can fluctuate based on like opponent. Like and it shouldn't, but it will, right? Like we've watched enough football to know that just kind of happens in the NFL. The thing that I am more concerned about is like just the overall defensive performance. Cause like you said, some of the sloppiness, and I know that's something that Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn are going to iron out, right? Is, losing backside contain. You can't have that happen because, like you said, Kenneth Walker is that good of an athlete to where if you lose backside contain, he has enough vision, he has enough strength and enough speed to be able to bounce that out, get back around backside. Not every running back is going to be able to do that, right? Some of these running backs get tackled by Carlton Davis in the backfield, and it's, you're putting the opposing offense behind the sticks. But yeah, like that is the thing that I'm a little more concerned about, and only because it's a pattern of really good offenses still putting up a good amount of yards. The Lions are still doing a good job for the most part in containing the run. Yes, Seattle went for 133, but I mean, 38 of those came from Geno, and some of those big time runs came in like the fourth quarter, right? When like the Lions are just playing prevent defense. So I'm not super concerned about like the run defense breaking down. But overall, like, yeah, I think the Lions need to kind of lock in a little bit better against some of these more high-profile offenses. They have a few more on their schedule. They still have to go against Green Bay. They still have to go against Houston. We'll see what Buffalo's kind of working with, by the time that they see them late in the season. The same thing with the 49ers. And we talked about Minnesota being one of those high-profile offenses as well. And Justin Jefferson is a task all in himself. So there are things that this Lions defense can definitely improve on, so that by the time they play some of these more high profile offenses, you're not just resigning yourself to the fact that like, oh, we're going to give up 400 yards of offense against this opponent because they're just that good. Like, hopefully the defenses can wrap it up a little bit to where at least make it garbage time yards, if nothing else. Garbage time yards, not so many plays where the opposing offense is having extended drives. I did also want to point out to your point earlier about the Lions offense scoring too quickly, right? Here's how their scoring drives went. 12-play touchdown drive, 3-play touchdown drive, 9-play touchdown drive, 5-play touchdown drive, 1-play touchdown drive, 7 plays, right? Like there's not a ton of, like to your point, there weren't a ton of extended plays, right? There's a couple of them in there where it's only taking a couple plays, and in between those, they did punt a few times, right? So they did have some 3-and-outs and things of that nature. So those things, to your point, definitely lended itself to Seattle for them to get even more opportunities to be on the field and really wear down that defense.
Yep. It started paying dividends too. Like as those snap counts started to creep up, the pass rush was a little less effective, and then you're missing tackles on Walker, and then he's erasing angles and walking into the end zone. So they got some cheap scores for sure. But at the end of the day, it's like a juxtaposition, right? Because Ben Johnson talked about last year, he was like, I want more explosives. Like we'd rather not have to do 8, 9, 10, 11 play drives every time for like to score touchdowns. So you like a good mix of it, but then you do put your defense in a little bit of a tough spot, especially playing. And Seattle was going tempo a lot. Sorry, I didn't bring that up earlier, but Seattle was getting to the line of, like if y'all are watching the broadcast, I noticed early on, I noticed watching the film, but they used a lot of. I think it's probably to slow down Hutchinson in that pass rush. If I had to guess, just to
Mm-hmm.
take a little bit of the bite out of that, but they were running a ton of tempo, getting to the line early, snapping the ball early in the play clock. So that affects things too for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about the offense. We talked about the defense. Uh, the Lions are now on the bye, right? Morgan, they get an early bye this season, so no game for them this week. And so the bye is a really good time for teams to either fix something that's broken, improve something that may be lagging behind a little bit, or just continue to improve an aspect of the team that they are really going to need going forward. When you look at this team as they go into the bye, what do you think the Lions need to focus on the most as they kind of get ready to not just go into the bye, but come out of the bye?
I think you want to get healthy. Obviously, that's kind of a cop out, but that'd be nice, right? You get a player like Frank Ragnow back in the fold in a couple more weeks. Hopefully, BB is ready to go once we turn around and head to Dallas. But one thing I want to see them improve a little bit on is like having the answers to the test a little bit earlier, right? Like,
Mm,
sometimes I feel like teams will get a jump on us, and it takes a little bit. It's gotten better with like having the wherewithal to adjust and like adjust your game plan or adjust your personnel or what have you. Like I feel like it's been pretty good this year. I just don't want it to happen like a Baltimore game last year, like where they
yeah,
just jumped us and your head's spinning. You got to throw your whole your game plan out the window because you're playing from behind early on. I don't want any of that. So, and I think the way to do that is to keep playing good complementary football. And what I mean by that is like the first couple weeks, right? Like the Lions offense wasn't clicking, but we had some really strong outings from the defense, whether it was Hutchinson going crazy with a ton of sacks or the secondary being ultra sticky
hmm
and just really good and effective like they were against Arizona. But then this time the defense didn't have their best stuff, and they were, in a pretty tough situation, like we just talked about, given all the context. And then the offense goes thermonuclear, right? So
yeah,
that's picking each other up when you're like when the other, even the special, I know neither of us are big special teams guys here. Sorry, Dave Phipp and everyone else, Hamza, but shoot, Jack Fox is paid like that
yeah,
one game. What was it? The Arizona game
yeah. The Arizona game
when
where he
he
got Special Teams Player of the Week, or
Yeah, man,
yeah,
like huge, kept flipping the field, right? The offense was not
hmm
doing what it needed to do, and he just kept on giving them a long field to work with and putting them in tough spots. And I think you do that. You hear coaches talk about complementary football all the time, and you're like, is this coach speak? But no, it's that like intermingling of the three phases, and just making this. It's just what good teams do, man. Like the Chiefs are 4-0,
yep,
and they really haven't looked like dominant in any of their games. They've eked out a couple wins against some teams, and I don't think their offense has really been the Chiefs, like the Mahomes offense, but they're finding out ways to get it done because it's a good team and it's a good organization, right?
yeah, absolutely. I think for me, when I look at this team, the thing that I'm hoping for is more of what we just saw against Seattle, right? Like you were kind of illustrating the defense, despite having a little bit of a lull against Seattle, has been the more consistent unit up until this point. And now that it seems like the offense has woken up and it seems like Ben Johnson's in his groove in terms of play calling, the players on the offensive side, all the skill players, the offensive line, Jared Goff, like everyone seems to be like really feeling themselves at this point. So it's like keep that going, keep that momentum, keep that confidence permeating throughout the offense so that when you come back from a bye, even though you've taken a bit of time off, come back with that same swagger, come back with that same mindset that like, hey, we are going to continue to just run teams out of the building. I mean, you get a really good opportunity after the bye to get a Dallas Cowboys team that is hurting, Morgan, right?
Yep.
Micah Parsons dealing with a high ankle sprain. Demarcus Lawrence was just put on injured reserve for a few weeks. So like you're going to get them a little hobbled, right? And that would be a great time for this offense to show that they still have the keys to the car and that they can still basically do whatever they want. So for me, that's the thing. I don't think there's a lot on this team that they need to fix right now. I don't think many things are broken, right? Knock on wood. Like it is about getting healthy and it is about continuing the momentum that you started this season out with. going into the bye at 3-1 is a great start. Now you just have to continue to do what got you at 3-1, continue that the rest of the season. And it's not going to be easy. Like I said, they have Dallas, they have Minnesota, they have Houston and Green Bay that they still have to play. Who knows what version of Chicago you're going to get? Like, there's still some tough games on the schedule, but the Lions seem to really be hitting their stride early in the season.
Yeah, and that's what you want, like sitting here 3-1, you got to be happy, right? Like it was a pretty tough stretch to begin the season, and you come out 3-1, and you haven't played your best football like all together yet. You've had some, like we talked about, some really good performances from this unit or this unit that week, or so yeah, it's why coaches talk about, like, yes, September matters. It matters in the standings. You want to win games.
Yep.
But when it really starts to count, when everyone's hitting their stride, like, November, December, that's when you really want to be like hitting it, right? Like, going into January, you're hot. Like, we are clicking, firing on all cylinders, however you want to phrase it. So yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I get healthy, continue to lean into your like identity. Cause that's one thing too. Like, yes, they scored 42 points, but like the identity is always going to be rooted in this offensive line and this run game. And we're going to run through your face and see how you feel about it until, can you stop it? And if not, it's going to be a long afternoon.
Absolutely. For sure. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. That is our thoughts and some of the biggest talking points that we got out of the Lions Monday night win over the Seattle Seahawks. Now we go into the bye. We will be having another video this week. It won't be a film study because, again, we're not going to start prepping for Dallas that early. We are going to do like an around the NFC North, though, right? Basically kind of taking an inventory of all the teams where everyone stands after week 4. Yeah, because we're going to do it before the Sunday game. So where everyone stands currently at week 4 and just kind of give our thoughts on the current state of the division. But I will throw this special caveat out there, and I got to just remember to follow through with it. I'm going to put a poll up on my Twitter because we normally do a film study during the week. We haven't done a single Lions film study this season, right? We kind of put that on the shelf so that we could focus more on scouting the opponents. If you want to see a game scouted from Morgan and I where we just break down different plays or different things that happen throughout the game, I'm going to put a poll up on my Twitter. I'll make sure See If Pride of Detroit can tweet it out as well. And you guys can pick from the first 4 games that the Lions have played, which game would you like to see Morgan and I break down some of the top plays from? And we may do that as well, seeing as we don't have to do a film study right away. Maybe we can do something special like that for you guys over the weekend. So
definitely.
That's going to do it for us, guys. If you are looking for any more Lions content, like always, check out prideofdetroit.com. There's new stuff being written all the time. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of really good content now that the Lions are going into the bye week. So it's a really good opportunity to catch up on any articles that may have been written earlier in the season that you didn't get a chance to check out. Also, if you're looking to keep up with any of the video content we're doing over here, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and that's going to keep you tuned into anytime we go live, anytime we upload a new video. If we ever get around to uploading shorts consistently, maybe you'll see some of those, right? But that's a great way of, again, staying tuned to the YouTube channel, also supporting the YouTube channel if you're looking for a way to support, liking, subscribing, sharing the videos, commenting on the videos. All of those things help us out immensely. So that's going to do it for this video. Like I said, make sure to be watching my Twitter at Miko, at the Miko Scott. I almost forgot my own Twitter handle. Jeez. At the Miko Scott over on Twitter to check out that poll and get a vote in for what Lions game you would like to see Morgan and I break down. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Hope you guys have a great week, and we'll be sure to catch you guys in the next one.